myself is
you're Reni, and then
Today's webinar organized by CTAT, Trivandrum chapter of CETA, as well as Indian Plumbing Association. We will start after a few seconds silent prayer. Thank you. Trivandrum chapter of CETA has been organizing technical talk every month, every alternate month on third Tuesday. This year, January, we had conducted a technical workshop on innovative trends in building construction. And after that, in March, we wanted to organize Devaraga Sandhya, a musical program in memory of Devarajan Master. And that, unfortunately, because of COVID pandemic, we couldn't hold it and we had to postpone it indefinitely. Almost, we may be carrying it over to next year. And in the interim period, we were not able to start our technical talk series because of and even our MC meetings were held online. Now, last MC meeting, we decided that we should resume our technical talk on the webinar mode as is being done by most of the organizations. And this today is being the first webinar in this series. And the speaker is Mr. G. Ramachandran, CET 1978 civil batch. And the topic is
G. Ram Kumar.
G. Ram Kumar. And the topic is meeting water challenges. This is being held in association with Indian Plumbing Association. We are very thankful for the Indian Plumbing Association for hosting today's web platform for this webinar. And we have today with us Reni Koipuram, Chairman IP at Trivandrum chapter, also a CET alumni. And we have our own Vice Chair, Nanta Kumar, who is also National Executive Member of IPA. And I have in the panel, we also have Anil G, Secretary CTAT, and Mr. Tarun, who is a web host for this function. So today's program will be like this. After my speech is over, Mr. Reni Koipuram will talk about IPA and its activities, which will be followed by Mr. Nanta Kumar, Vice Chair and NEC member of IPA, who will introduce the speaker. And afterwards, Mr. G. Ram Kumar will be making his presentation, which will be followed by question and answers. And finally, Anil G, Secretary CTAT, will offer vote of thanks. Those who want to ask questions may send through chat, which we will be taking up and answering. Thank you. And Reni, you can start your business now.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Reni Koipuram. I represent Indian Plumbing Association as the chairman of its Trivandrum chapter. I'm also happy to say that I'm a founding committee member of CTAT, the committee which hosted the global meet of College of Engineering Trivandrum alumni at Trivandrum. Today I will speak a few words about Indian Plumbing Association. Tarun, can you play the slide? Indian Plumbing Association is the apex body of plumbing professionals in India. It was established in 1993 with the objective to promote the development of plumbing and building services industry. IPA membership is open to everyone engaged directly or indirectly with the construction industry. Tarun, can you just play this slide? Indian Plumbing Association or IPA has 4,500 plus members across the country from every segment of the building industry, including consultancy, manufacturing, contracting, trading, academic, and architecture. The headquarters of IPA is in New Delhi, and it has 23 chapters all over India. Next slide, please. The mission of Indian plumbing industry are the following: redefining plumbing standards in India, striving for an overall improvement of the plumbing profession in India at par with international standards, and active participation with the global body in the plumbing profession. Next slide, please. And the objectives of Indian Plumbing Association are to adopt correct professional practices, adhere to ethical codes of conduct, aim for the highest standards of workmanship, promote and foster healthy relationships within the fraternity, and to promote advancement of plumbing services in the country by organizing seminars, exhibitions, symposiums to educate members of the trade and the general public, providing a platform for the dissemination of information and exchange of ideas on matters related to the plumbing profession, establishing harmonious means of communication to facilitate better interface between the plumbing community, government, quasi-government agencies, statutory bodies, NGOs, and private agencies, establishing training and education programs to create plumbing professionals. Next slide, please. Now I will go on to IPPL, that is the Indian Plumbing Professionals League. This is a competition organized by Indian Plumbing Association to create awareness on plumbing standards. This was started in 2017, and edition 4, 2017, 18 and 19 were all, we had classes all over the country, but 2020, the COVID situation has, next slide please, has forced us to go into a webinar format or a virtual format. The IPPL reach and the IPPL beneficiaries are they are the architects and interior designers, builders and real estate developers, consultants, contractors and engineers. Next slide, please. These are the major participating organizations. Next slide. So in 2020, as said, we are having IPPL in a virtual format, and so the participants have the liberty to learn from home. That is sitting in any part of the country. Formerly, we had to have classes in different centers. We had 23 chapters. We had 20 chapters having participants. So we had different classes, different teachers in different centers. Now all that is being brought under one umbrella. We have online classes, and you can participate sitting anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world. Next slide, please. We are targeting 10,000 participants from all parts of India, and this is being promoted by 23 IPA chapters. Next slide. The supporting organizations are CREDAI, Confederation of Real Estate Developers Associations of India, IIID, Institute of Indian Interior Designers, then IGBC and FSAI. Next. Why I'm going through IPPL now is because this is most of the people who are in the engineering fraternity will find it very useful, and so I'm just giving you an exposure to what IPPL is. Anybody above the age of 18 years directly or indirectly related to plumbing sector, that is civil engineering, and understands English can appear. All existing IPA members can also appear. The participation charges has been brought down considerably to 3,500 plus GST. And who all can participate? Architects and interior designers, real estate developers, MEP consultants, plumbing engineers, plumbing contractors, PMCs, technical institute, manufacturers, etc. Next slide, please. The schedule and topics covered are, I am rushing through the slides because I don't have much time to waste. That's why. The major topics covered are water supply and distribution, pumping system, fixtures, fittings, valves and other systems, hot water systems, WTP and STP, water efficient products, stormwater drainage, rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting is also one of the subjects that we are looking into. That is what today's talk is about. Terminologies, codes and standards, sanitary drainage system, indirect waste, challenges in execution, etc. Next. The takeaways for participants. There are, once somebody joins for IPPL, there are so many takeaways that they get for this 3,500 rupees. That is a complimentary copy of Indian Plumbing Today, which is a monthly magazine of Indian Plumbing Association, and IPA newsletter. Then a complimentary soft copy of AGGPP, that is a book, a guide to good plumbing practices. Then read-only copies of the 2017 Uniform Illustrated Plumbing Code, the 2020 edition of the Uniform Solar Energy, Hydronics and Geothermal Code India. Then professional advancement on codal-based plumbing. And you also get a professional membership of IPA, which is worth 3,500 rupees. So whatever you spend for this is totally taken care of. And next slide. And the rewards, there are so many rewards, starting with the winner, the final winner getting a prize of, next slide, a prize of rupees 1,25,000, then 1 lakh for the first runner-up, 75,000 for the second runner-up, and so many other prizes. Next slide. If anybody is interested in participating, you can log on to www.indianplumbing.org, or you may contact Praveen Bora or Sushant Sinha in the addresses given in the slide. Next slide, please. That's it from me. Thank you for your patient listening, and I look forward to a very interesting webinar on water harvesting from Mr. Ram Kumar. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rani. And Mr. Nanda Kumar, Vice Chair CTAT and National Executive Member of IPA, will now introduce the speaker.
Good evening, all. Engineer G. Ram Kumar completed his BTech in Civil Engineering from CET in 1978. He did his MTech from IIT Madras, and he is a fellow of Indian Institute of Engineers, India. He was awarded the Marine Engineering Division Gold Medal for 1988-89 by the Institute of Engineers, India for the joint paper presentation with Professor H. Raman of IIT Madras on the development of computer simulation model for analysis of waiting time of ships and berth occupancy in ports. He has professional experience in Indian Oil Corporation spanning over 37 years in different parts of India. He is superintendent from Indian Oil Corporation as Executive Director in November 2016. He is presently involved in knowledge sharing, faculty assistance in management, skill development, sustainability of environment, etc. He has been pushing the initiative on groundwater recharge, that is practical implementation of rainwater harvesting techniques at residence, floats, complexes, parks, etc. He is a lover of sports and games and has won laurels in chess championship at state level and participated in national as well. Thank you. This is with President Mr. G. Ramakumar.
Thank you, Nanda Kumar. G. Ram Kumar, you can take over now.
I think very, very warm greetings. My sound, I hope, is quite clear. You are able to hear properly?
Now not clear, so
Yes.
much clear.
Is it clear now? Sound is clear?
Yeah, almost.
Now it's clear. Yeah.
Now
it's
sorry,
almost-
it is clear. Now it's better?
Yeah, now it's better.
I'm adjusting my position, Yeah.
Yeah,
Very warm greetings, and thanks to both CETA and the Indian Plumbing Association in this endeavor. And I certainly feel honored to be speaking to Nanda Kumar and Shiv Kumar and Rani, and also my friend Anil Kumar for the affection and the wonderful coordination. See, why I got involved with the rainwater harvesting. In Kerala, see, I had my education in Kerala. We never had any issues with water. Then I joined Indian Oil Corporation. And in 2000, I got posted to Chennai. And Chennai city, as I got a tag, it is a water scarce city. And 2000 had the washer summer, and we had a lot of water issues. So we initiated some action in the residential complex, which I was staying at Adyar. Today, in the last summer, the flat complex had abundant water and good quality water, which is a successful completion or successful, which says the success of the rainwater harvesting. in the city of Chennai, in spite of the exponential rise in the population. In fact, Indian Oil team has given me a lot of motivation in doing the practical harvesting measures across the country, at different states. Many petrol stations, maybe 15,000 and above. Many project sites. So I'm continuing with the same passion, more so today, in the awareness and knowledge sharing, so that we can take this initiative forward. I'll just go to my presentation now. Who can this wording? Yeah. So I'm starting my presentation on meeting water challenges. Specifically, it is worded as meeting water challenges because once we join our hands, we will become water surplus. The nature gives us whatever we want. In fact, we take one step towards nature, the return is in thousands. Mankind, right from the Stone Age to the present virtual digital world, has managed to spoil the nature for perceived comfort. For perceived comfort. What we are having may not be the real comfort. But today we are in such a situation that in case we do not take care of nature, the nature will not be able to give us in return anything. My emphasis is today to find out what best we can do in the field of water so that we become water comfortable, if not water surplus, and more so ensure water for our future generations. This is the wonderful, the divine temple of Anandapadmanabha Swami at Thiruvananthapuram, the God which has kept Trivandrum with water and with comfort. And what we see in front is a lovely Padma Tirtha. In fact, the earlier days, the kings used to have a temple pond in every village. It is this temple pond which used to act as a reservoir for the water during the rainy days and recharging during the summer days. It was the best way of rainwater harvesting. In fact, our ancestors knew how to do rainwater harvesting, and we have forgotten those techniques. And now we have to think about it, relearn and redo. Lakes are abundant in water resource, very abundant. Lakes are also contribute to our own recreation. Why we are closing many of the water bodies, be it Trivandrum, be it Bangalore, be it Chennai. The water bodies are closed so that human beings can stay, build houses, or build complexes. For how long we can continue to do this? We have to join as a body to create awareness, to maintain the water bodies, to restore the water bodies. On the water, the prudent usage and the behavior patterns are well established. And many TV personalities and giving a lot of TV clippings, especially during the COVID stage, wherein the water is the main medium of fighting this disease. And we have to avoid wastage. Recycling and water treatment are also being resorted to. Desalination is a process of getting water from the sea, but it is a very costly method. And rainwater harvesting is the cheapest method because rainwater is available to all of us free of cost. There is no cost for the rain. God is giving us the rain. Let us use it to the best way as we can. This shows the annual rainfall in of India. What does it communicate? It communicates that some of the states have got intense rainfall, whereas some of the states have got scanty rainfall. It is up to the states which will receive more rainfall to do proper conservation measures so that as a country we help each other. This is the annual rainfall in Kerala. Kerala, if you see, the annual rainfall is varying from 2.5 meters or 250 centimeters. Even it has gone above 400 centimeters. In fact, what Kerala receives is 2.5 times what India receives on an average. So as Keralites, we have got a responsibility to ensure water for others. Our country receives rainfall around 1 meter annually. It can vary. By effective use of rainwater and groundwater recharge, we can easily meet our needs. Not only meet our needs, we can be water comfortable also. How do we use the rainwater? The simplest method is the rainwater harvesting. Maximize utilization of rainwater by channelizing rainwater. What we receive in our own plots, maybe into our own sumps, our own wells near to the tube wells. But by these methods, we can only harvest a small percentage of the rainwater. The main recharge of the rainwater should be into the ground by very simple methods. We only allow the rainwater to percolate into the ground. In an empty plot, the rain automatically goes into the ground. But when we construct an apartment or a complex, the water does not go into the ground. So it is our duty to give a channel for the rain to go into the ground and recharge the earth. What we are driving as a motto, as a mission, is to harvest more than 80% of the rainfall falling in one's plot. Naturally, in every city or town, the rain is signified by flooding on the roads. Whenever rain happens, you see there is a traffic jam because the roads have become 1/4, half or 1/4, because balance is occupied by water. The roads become the drains. We have to avoid this. We can avoid this by putting or by recharging the ground, whatever water flows in our area, and reduce wastage onto the roads. I'll be playing a 5 minutes video which I developed. Here I would like to pay compliments to my friend Dr. Rajiv, who is a CTM, who has made this creative so beautifully. I think just listen to the video for 5 minutes. And very warm greetings. The sound is okay now?
Not fully okay.
Now it will be okay. I have done it.
Pleasure to share
Now we can reply.
a few thoughts on the groundwater recharge by the simple practical method of rainwater harvesting.
I have great pleasure in introducing my friend G. Ram Kumar, who is an M.Tech from IIT Madras. Ram Kumar had a very long innings with Indian Oil Corporation and superannuated as Executive Director. He has high passion towards sustainability and environment and has contributed extensively in the area of groundwater recharge and rainwater harvesting.
Let's take the example of the city of Chennai, where I live now. The city of Chennai experienced the worst water crisis in the summer of the year 2019. In fact, Chennai receives about 140 centimeters of rain annually. And in case 1/3 of this rainfall is effectively utilized, the Chennaites will have abundant water. What is rainwater harvesting? Due to the development of the towns and cities and the paved surfaces, the rainwater does not percolate into the ground. That means the rainwater is unable to recharge the ground. Along with the development of towns and cities, it is our duty to provide adequate measures so that the rainwater recharges the ground. How do we achieve this? We can channelize the rainfall falling on the rooftops as well as on the surface of the plots and our own establishments, may it be residential or commercial. The rainwater which falls in our own area can be channelized on the ground by provision of appropriate rainwater harvesting pits. Effective utilization of the rainwater by channelizing to the wells or near to the tube wells can add more comfort. I have been also touched with our residents and also the agencies in order to propagate the thought on rainwater harvesting and its practical implementation. In fact, the innovative designs which the residents and the people put into practice is itself a great learning exercise. By recharging the ground with rainwater, we achieve better water availability or a better water table. In addition, the rainwater, which is the purest form of water available, pushes down the saline water in the soil, thereby reducing the saline water intrusion in the ground strata. In effect, a better water table management. The recharge of the rainwater falling in the plots or other paved areas will contribute to a substantial reduction in the waterlogging and the drainage problems of various cities and towns. Let us generate this thought process, do practical implementation of water percolation into the ground so that our future generations will have fresh water too. Thank you. I would like to thank my friend Dr. S. Rajeev for his time and efforts in making this wonderful creative. Would also record my appreciation and gratitude to the team in Indian Oil. Also to the many team members of the various complexes where I visited on the practical implementation of this initiative. References have been drawn from the internet and from various literatures to add value. Let us move towards a sustainable world with fresh water for the future generations. Thank you.
I hope
Very warm.
the video sound is clear. I hope reasonably. Yeah, I hope the video sound is okay. Reasonably. Mr. Kumar? Yeah.
It was
I think
okay.
I'll continue with the. See, what the video communicated was the simple methods of rainwater harvesting.
Yeah.
And how it is easily implementable and the advantages of the ground recharge as well as the benefit, all concise into a 5 minutes capsule, and it is available in the YouTube. Now let me share a few of the examples of the practical implementations. I have taken about 3 examples to highlight. See, I have taken examples only then where I was involved. This over the last 20 years, there has been many. I have taken an example of one of industrial, that is plants and petrol stations, and next one of the residential complex and a community park. Basically, the message is very clear: create awareness, because the rainwater harvesting is the simplest of the things to do. It does not require it is not a rocket science. It's a very simple thing to do. So creating awareness is one of the key areas for the success. See, this is the beautiful Ennur LPG bottling plant at Chennai, which we commissioned in the year 2000. This plant has been accredited, the green accreditation by the concerned authorities recently. So when we commissioned this plant in the year 2000, 20 years back, we had water at 5 feet, but totally salty water. And there is not a single drop of water which can be used even for fire protection, let alone for drinking. So we had an innovative idea to catch the rainwater, which is falling on the plant sets, to construct a tank and use it, and also to percolate the water which is falling in the 50 acres of the land into the ground. These two were implemented, and not a single drop of water is going out of the 50-acre plant even today. See, the LPG filling shed means where we bottle the LPG, bulk LPG into the cylinders, what we get at our houses. The filling shed has got about 7,300 square meter roof. Basically, it is a large area because about 4,400 is 1 acre. This is about 1.8 acres. And the water falling, if I take an average of 1.4 meter in Chennai, it is more than 10,000 cubic meter or 10,000 KL. So 10,000 KL means 10,000 into 1,000 liters. Very huge quantity. In case they are able to use this water, we will have no issue. So the entire roof water through about 64 down pipes were taken down into a small sump. Then it was taken to a 3,000 KL, that is 3,000 cubic meter tank. This is a photo which is taken recently for use in our fire protection tanks as well as for drinking. We had spent about 4 lakhs at that time. And the first year itself, we realized a cost of 10 lakhs. That means in 4 years, whatever money we spend on the system, we recovered. And we could, more important, there is not a single drop of water. We could achieve good water availability. And as long as the plant is existing, this arrangement will continue to supply good water to the plant. See, these are the things, whatever water, storm water is in the plant, in the 50 acres, the stormwater drains are connected, and LPG is totally a non-polluting fuel. They are all used to recharge the ground for better quality of water. And the quality of water today has improved, that we are able to use the groundwater even for utility purposes. In addition, the solar energy park, whatever water falls in the solar energy park is also taken into a tank for usage. So Ennur LPG plant is an example of utilizing every single drop of rain which falls in the 50 acres for use or for groundwater recharge. This is a general sketch of a petrol station where from the canopy, using the downwater pipe, it is put into a gravel pit for recharging into the ground. There is no ring. The water from the canopy comes in. There is a small slab. It gets a very simple arrangement, saves substantial amount of water and avoids the driveway getting clogged with water. The driveway looks cleaner, the ground gets recharged. Let me take the example of one residential complex. This is where I am staying now. Near to my house in my flat complex in Chennai, we have got 8 flats here. This is adjacent to the Pallikarnai marsh. We have got water. Right now, I am having water at even 2 feet. we have water, but the quality of the water is very bad. So when the flat was constructed, I was in touch with the builder. Entire terrace water is going into an open well. All the terrace water is going to open well. And the surface water goes into the garden here. We are able to manage whatever water falling on our plot, more than 90%, to be utilized within. The blackish water in the well in 2010. Today, we are having water which is equivalent to the tanker water which you are buying. A success of the simple rainwater harvesting. The terrace water goes into the well. It does not clog the road. And it saves the trouble of you buying tankers. More and more, as the years go by, the water quality is going to improve. Let me take the example of a community park. This is a park at our Kamakodi Nagar, where we are staying. Kamakodi Nagar may have about maybe 1,500 plots, let us say around 1,000 plots. Here, the water quality, water table is available, the water quality is not good. The park is about 1 hectare in area. The aim of this exercise has been to improve the water percolation into the ground, by which the groundwater quality improves. Because while recharging the ground with rainwater, we are able to push the saline water down and the fresh water gets injected. That's the principle adopted. So we had finalized a simple design of about 12 pits filled with graded gravel. So the park ecosystem is not disturbed. At the same time, the water goes inside. Because the park gets inundated with water, the idea has been to percolate the ground with water so the park becomes cleaner at a faster rate. Fortunately, L&T wanted to have a scheme done to celebrate the World Water Day. So in February this year, I had a meeting with the L&T team and convinced them that this arrangement in the park will contribute to water harvesting, not only for an individual, but for the society. We could immediately convince them and take an okay from the corporation, and we could finish the job before the lockdown started. The various stages I've explained here. That is, we have gone here only up to 8 feet because the water table is quite high here. 8 feet, and about what we have is about 4 feet dia at the top. We have dug the pit for 8 feet. You can see the pit at the bottom, and we have filled up with graded gravel. The gravel at the bottom is of higher size, and as we go up, it is of a lesser size. And we had given 1 layer of sand also, which need not be required. It is a question of design, we can vary it. And at the top, only at the top, a small ring to designate that there is a water harvesting pit involved. At the same time, the percolation is directly from the pit into the ground. The water flows into the ground. The principle is allow water to percolate, break the clay layer at the top, allow water to percolate by simplest of the design, which is very simple, cost effective, and no accidents will take place, and the park's ecosystem is maintained. In fact, such systems, what I heard in Trivandrum also, the Puthurikandam Maidanam, I think, is inundated with water. And the government is planning, I think, to construct some ponds so as to take the water. In fact, in case we have multiple harvesting pits, simple harvesting pits, even they will be able to draw the water at a faster rate. Maybe we can have a pond also for beautification and taking some water. Maybe we can propagate these thoughts either through the paper media or to the government. That simple designs are available, which does not spoil the usage of that plot. At the same time, the area becomes cleaner and the groundwater gets recharged. These systems can be tried out. As an allied group of the CETA and the Plumbing Association, I think we can generate this. We can use the media, maybe the paper, maybe the TV, and build awareness. So these simple designs can go a long way in solving the waterlogging issues and also charging the ground. The work on the park is in progress. We are able to see here we could finish the work in 2 days. The JCBs came dug the pits, and this is a completed pit. In fact, nobody will know there is a harvesting pit also. During the recent rains, in fact, Chennai had some reasonable rains. It was already observed that the water percolation into the ground has improved a lot. In fact, this is a project which has contributed to social awareness with impact. A picture of our unity by the association, Kamakodi Association, the executive engineer of the corporation standing along with me, the team L&T, and the association people. In fact, spontaneously people have joined hands, to come forward and contribute. In fact, the assistant commissioner of the corporation had accorded an approval across the table that we go ahead with the job. I'm coming to the one of the most important activities where our CTAC Chennai, that is the CETA alumni group of Chennai, is involved. The Pallikaranai Marsh is one of the wetlands, and it is a boon for Chennai that this sort of wetland is existing in the city of Chennai. It is a large area, about 700 hectares. In fact, originally, what I understand, so many centuries back, it was 7,000 hectares. Now it has shrunk to 700 hectares. Our CTAC team is working on the conservation of this marsh so that it does not further shrink. So the marsh does not get occupied further. The dumping of the waste into the marsh is stopped. The CTAC group is working by way of awareness in close coordination with the Forest Department of Chennai. So through the medium of radio, through Facebook, you can all log into the Facebook and offer your support. This project is not a small project. It is going to take time. But why this project is worth? Maintaining the ecosystem of the city of Chennai depends on the survival of the Pallikaranai Marsh, because this marsh acts as a balancing reservoir. So when rain comes, it takes more amount of water, and in summer, it can certainly charge the ground. In addition, the saline water intrusion into the area will get reduced by maintaining this natural park, this natural marsh. This is one of the few remaining wetlands, and maybe this could be only the one wetland which is remaining in the city of Chennai. And in fact, we are lucky to have this wetland. The main attraction of the Pallikaranai Marsh is the number of birds which visit us. More than 200 species of birds. In winter, we can see the birds flying across the continent, maybe to the same spots in the marsh. Why birds come during winter to the city of Chennai? Because the birds may not get water. The birds may not get water in the icy peaks, maybe icy peaks of Himalayas. They come to Chennai. They have the food. They are able to feed. They are able to have the food in good weather. So this is an ideal time to visit Chennai and have a look at the birds and have a look at the marsh. And this marsh, not only the birds 200, maybe thousands of species, animals put together, maybe more than 1,000 type of species are inhabiting this marsh. As human beings, one species, it is up to us to make sure that these 1,000 species survive for our own interest. We can have a look at the greenery, at the beautiful flowers in the marsh. Way forward. This will be my last slide. Way forward, which is a very important slide. See, let us, as a allied body, and we are all blessed people by the God. What can we do to nature? What can we do to our own human beings? What can we do to the planet Earth? To utilize water as prudently as we can. In some of the flats, the treated water by the corporation is used for the toilets, which is a waste of water. We have to use the water according to our own need and according to the quality. Maximize harvesting of the rainwater in our plots. Minimum, more than 80%, we should harvest it. Because rainwater comes to us free, let us use it. Minimize water flow to the outside drains. Avoid roads becoming the drains. Why we should make the road the drains? Why not we use the rainwater which falls in our own area for our own use? Then most important, everybody says they have done rainwater harvesting. Some of the systems or some of the corporations want rainwater harvesting. Evaluate the efficacy of the existing rainwater harvesting. Is it okay? If you're throwing out water into the road, that means what type of rainwater harvesting have you done? It needs improvement. It is high time we look into these aspects, improve our own systems. And it is the simplest thing to do. Our own mind can work wonders once we have the will. And most important, as a body, just let us generate societal involvement. Without societal involvement and personal involvement, and this should be made as a people's movement, then only it will work. Most important, spread awareness of the will to implement. I shall do it, we shall do it, and we have done it. The will to implement and go forward is the most important message which I would like to communicate to all of us. As a body who is God blessed, it is important for us, all of us, to spread the awareness of the will to implement, make sure that it is implemented and it is implemented well. A will to ensure water comfort for the future generations to come. With prayers to God, let me end this presentation and look forward to your wonderful cooperation. And I'll be glad to clarify the doubts as I can and use this body of allied people to clarify my doubts, interactions, go forward. Thank you.
Now, thank you, Mr. Ram Kumar. I think there are some questions in the question and answer session. You can take up and answer. I think one question is already come in. If there are more questions, people can type in now.
If they want, they can ask also, no problem.
They can
Yeah, I
write
think
to-
because they don't have.
That facility is not available. They have to come in the chat platform.
Oh,
Only through chat because audio is muted for them, you know.
but I think in case somebody raises a hand, we can.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
We can give the. I saw many about so many people who raise a hand. What I saw.
There is the chat and there is the question and answer tab. Both are there.
But
For example, there is a question in the question and answer. This thing. What is the
There are
percentage
two
of
questions. Yeah.
what is
First,
the percentage of percolation or rainwater harvesting required as per the codes of standards with respect to the rainwater or available land area? This is one question. You can answer that question now.
Yeah,
I'll repeat. Is it clear?
Yeah, you can repeat the question. Yeah.
What is the percentage of percolation within brackets rainwater harvesting required as per the codes or standards with respect to the rainwater within brackets or available land area?
Now, let me answer the question in two parts. As I mentioned earlier, it should be our endeavor to use 100% of the rainfall which falls in our plot into the ground. To my knowledge, none of the codes specify how much precipitation falling in our area should be percolated into the ground. In fact, this is a very difficult, only the owner of the plot, or if I'm staying in a plot, I'll be in a position to find out how much I have percolated. But more than the code, see, code and other things specify, as with the building code, that you should have rainwater harvesting systems. The percentage percolation is the direct link of the efficacy or the effectiveness of the rainwater harvesting system. I think we have not gone to that level. So it is important that we try to percolate the maximum. While the code specifies that you have rainwater harvesting system, the efficacy of the rainwater harvesting system, how good it should be, I don't think it is specified so far because it has got various parameters which has to be looked at. But our aim should be to percolate maximum possible rain into the ground.
The next question. Can I go to the next question?
Yeah, please. I hope the person who asked the question is satisfied.
No, that
This-
he has to answer because this is in a webinar format.
Okay.
They cannot ask the questions direct. So
Okay.
whatever questions are coming in the question answer segment, I am asking on behalf of,
I know. In that case, I would like to add one more point that we should try to maximize the rainfall discharge into the recharge into the ground. Maximize it. Don't worry about the code. Maximize it.
The next question is from Mr. Ajit Kumar.
Yeah.
Good presentation. What would be your suggestion for areas like Mumbai city where rock is encountered at shallow depth?
Yeah, I think Mr. Ajit Kumar has raised a very pertinent question. See, the rock is encountered with a shallow depth. That means what he has indicated is from the ground there is some earth available up to the rock. There is a space available for harvesting up to the rock. So we can utilize that ground, that space available, and use simple measures to harvest the water. And in the rock also, normally there are fissures in the rock. The rock is not a continuous rock. So water will find its own way to go into the ground. So it may not be that difficult to do natural rainwater harvesting. In fact, I remember one case in Coimbatore, in L&T factory. The place was rocky. So they had the stormwater drains. And in the rocky area, we had a reservoir for water. So we channelized the water into the reservoir and used it for the purpose of the factory. Maybe you can use such methods. If it is totally rocky, that can be taken to the advantage to channelize the stormwater and have a small reservoir and start using it.
Shall I ask the next question?
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
This is a very long question from Nitin Patel.
Yeah.
So it's sorry, it's from Professor Padmanabh Iyer. No, that is regarding available Koilon water supply. Wait.
Yeah.
No, that is not the one. There is another long question. Okay. This is, please find below the pros and cons of constructing dams across rivers. Pros: hydroelectric power, provide electricity, improve economy, decrease dependence on coal, nuclear, provide new fishing industry, improve economy, provide water for human consumption, flood control, reduce downstream flooding, provide water for irrigation, increase food production, provide recreation, swimming, boating, and fishing. And the cons are expensive, complex repairs, limits fish migration, deforestation, destruction of wildlife habitat, displacement of people / environment, environmental effects, earthquakes, death due to dams break, loss of minerals in the downstream. Having mentioned the above pros and cons, considering the future requirements of water for the human life to sustain, and also considering the geographical topology of Kerala, is it not suitable to have small / mini / micro dams and check dams (Tadayana) constructed all across rivers in Kerala?
It is from Benichen.
This is from Benichen C.
Yeah.
Benichen C.
Who has asked this question?
Mr. Benichen, he is a member of CTAT. He's an alumni of CET. Mr. Benichen of 87.
I think it's a wonderful question. Involving the selection of dams and also analysis of either a bigger dam is useful or smaller sections are useful. In fact, this has been studied in detail, and an answer across giving would be difficult. But at the same time, what I can conclude is, what I can suggest is, by allowing natural percolation of water using the rain will be always beneficial, both for the upstream side, downstream side, and for the soil and for the greenery, wherever we do rainwater harvesting. By plantation of the trees by the side of the rivers, we find the water quality or the water flow into the rivers improves. So what I would like to answer is, the study of the bigger dams versus smaller anacuts has to be studied in detail, and it would be difficult for me to give a solution to that. At the same time, in case we are utilizing the water, the rainwater, to percolate into the ground to the extent possible, because in the areas, hilly areas where no human being can go there is no problem. Water finds out its own method to go into the ground because there are a lot of trees. Whenever human intervention or spoiling the nature is there, then the rainwater harvesting is required. For example, in a village in Kerala or where agriculture is done, the harvesting concepts are known to the villagers better than us. The villagers got ponds, wells, and all that. So, answering this question, the rainwater harvesting and putting the rain into the ground at every area is possible will support the environment, will support the water. That is my answer. Whereas the bigger dams versus the smaller dams, maybe an analysis is to be done, which is better, which is highly debatable, and the appropriate solution need be taken.
Okay, the next question is from Aaron Joseph. How to support borewell with rainwater harvesting?
His question is clear, how to support borewell, yes. Now, I think let me answer in two parts. See, borewell draws water. See, for example, let me take my own earlier flat complex at Adyar, which is drawing water by the bore. By rainwater harvesting, we improved the water table and also the water quality. And the bore is yielding better quality of water and more water. So his question may be, we can have multiple harvesting pits so as to harvest the area. And in case it is also desirable that if he is able to have simple harvesting pits near to the bore, in the vicinity, these spots. And one more reason, there is also in Karnataka, where they got deep bores which are not yielding water. There is an agency which has done charging the bore, the defunct bores, and making it work also. That is also available. So maybe if he is able to give more details on his question, we can come to a conclusion. So the idea is simple: recharge the ground with more water, the water quality and water table improves, and naturally the bore improves. Next question. Yeah.
Okay, the next question is from Mr. T. Ravindran. Our company is constructing an IT building in a 2-acre plot. Analysis of the earth from the test pits up to 30 meters depth, dug for structural design of the foundation, shows that the percolation quality is poor due to high content of laterite and clay. Are designs of percolation pits available which are suitable for such location?
I think very interesting and very practical question. What I would like to suggest is they can put in every soil, whether it is laterite or clay, there is always fissures in the soil. So when we have percolation pit, maybe let us say 20 feet, and we fill it with graded gravel, the water automatically percolates and the water finds its own way. So my suggestion to him will be to have 1 or 2 percolation test pits done, maybe 1 feet dia, and maybe you can go up to 20 feet, 25 feet. You can test the pit how it is, pour water and see. In all probability, he will be able to percolate water into the ground. The test pits can become the normal harvesting pits later on. So the money also will not get wasted. So they can have multiple, in such areas, they can have multiple harvesting pits because the soil at different parts will be slightly different. So multiple harvesting pits, wherever the rain, the roof water is coming through the downwater pipes, they can locate the harvesting pits. So money need not be wasted in taking water to the pit. So wherever, maybe away from the foundation, maybe about 6 feet, you can have multiple harvesting pits. 1 or 2 test pits once he puts with graded gravel. That means maybe 100 mm at the bottom, then 75 mm like that. In all probability, you will find that water is starting to percolate. Maybe the rate of percolation may vary, but you can have multiple pits and his problem, in all probability, will get solved and the percolation will improve.
The next question is from Professor Padmanabhayar. If foundation soil is on clay soil, the collection of water will weaken the soil. That is a statement. I don't know what the question is.
I can answer that question. Yeah. See he has raised a beautiful question that maybe his question says if you put water it can it can weaken the soil. I think. Now let me elaborate further. See, the soil itself is a mixture of soil plus the moisture content plus the voids. If you remove the natural water, which is supposed to be in the soil becomes brittle. So what we are doing with rainwater harvesting is, when we have constructed a building, we have removed a lot of water, which otherwise it would have gone into the soil. That means we have played with nature. When you have played with nature, allow simple harvesting pits, allow water to percolate, and the water is getting percolated in its own natural way. That means the same soil, you are trying to get into its original shape by giving the moisture which you are deprived by constructing a building. In all probability, the water strength will improve. And in case the rainwater is not supplied to the soil, in all probability, by capillary action, it will draw the saline water and it will become weaker. The foundations, by rainwater harvesting, simple method, the soil will become stronger and the foundation will also survive for a longer time. This is my feeling.
Okay, the next question is from Mr. Rajagopal Ramachandran. How about controlling the rate of evaporation? And two is, what about effect of flooding?
Yeah, I think it's a very beautiful question. One is on the flooding. What I've suggested is whenever we are able to maximize harvesting into our own ground, the water discharge to the roads. You see, we are trying to. Why flood is happening? Because we are playing with nature. Take the case of Trivandrum. That Pathrakulam is stopped. So many places. So East Forts gets flooded. So the idea is to provide conduits for rainwater to go to the ground wherever we have allowed, wherever we have constructed some building and allowed the water its natural path we are deprived. We have rainwater harvesting. Then the floods will get automatically reduced. Once we go in line with the nature, the floods come down. And similarly, in case we have got more tree cover, automatically the evaporation losses come down. More tree cover. Next question.
Is the process of rainwater harvesting costly?
Rainwater harvesting, I think, is one of the cheapest methods. While putting up a building, basically, as you rightly said, the idea is to take the rainwater to permeable layers wherever possible. The cost might vary a little, but it is the cheapest. In fact, even I took the example of an Ennore plant where we have to construct a water tank costing 45 lakhs. It paid back in 4 years, and if you calculate the real cost of water, it would have paid back in 2 years. Now it is giving water for 20 years. What I would like to say is rainwater harvesting. We should not go into cost. In case we do not do rainwater harvesting, I think we are doing a crime to the society, and we are doing a crime to ourselves. And it is the cheapest method of doing. While doing a building itself, we can provide simple methods of percolation of the rain into the ground. It is very easy. In fact, a pit, a simple pit of gravel and other things might cost maybe 5,000, 6,000 rupees. In case you are doing along with your construction, you may find there is no cost. With the material available at site itself, we can do the rainwater harvesting.
This question is from Mr. Lalrotanga. Is there a case or two where rainwater is harvested in a tank or reservoir for domestic use, not only for recharging?
Yeah, I think it is a wonderful question. In fact, see, whenever corporation water supply is not available, like where I am staying now, the corporation water is not available. There, the terrace water, many people are using directly onto the sump. Instead of buying water, they use the rainwater. The principle is simple. The first flush, which will be dirty, don't use it for our domestic purpose. So you get clean water into the sump. Similarly, even the industrial plant, I explained, where this is being a common practice wherever the corporation water is not available. But to use the rainwater, in Bangalore, one of the rain experts, he is living only on rainwater for the last 40 years. So rainwater can be very easily used, and when you are buying a tanker, it saves a lot of money. But the sums are very small in size. Even then, even if you are able to save 30%, 40% of the tankers, it is very cheap. The idea is to leave the first flush to outside area, take the balanced water into your sump and start using it. It is a practice which is very common wherever the luxury of the corporation water is not available.
The next question is from Mr. Sudeep. In a city where plots are small and having building to building not too distant, would rainwater harvesting cause harm to building structures, or should be studied on a case-to-case basis?
I think this is a very simple question which can be answered. If you don't do rainwater harvesting, you are doing a harm to the soil. The soil will become brittle and the building will collapse. Today morning only I saw a building in our colony where the building is wall to wall, compound wall to compound wall. It is on pillars. What they have done is to have the rainwater harvesting pipes into a soak pit within their building area only, and also they have got a well, which again they can lead the rainwater which falls on the terrace into the well. In case rainwater harvesting is not done, is going to cause a harm to the soil and to the foundation, because they have deprived the soil of the moisture which it was getting without rainwater harvesting by constructing a building. The building constructed has spoiled the water entry into the soil. By that action, the soil is deprived of the natural water. In addition, the entire building will let the water into the ground, into the outside road, and road will become, so rainwater harvesting place, it will become a drainage problem. So rainwater harvesting in such buildings are good and it can be easily done. It should be done.
And a connected question from Mr. Jayachandran VS. In small plots of below 3 cents, when homes are constructed, what is your suggestion for rainwater harvesting?
You see, it is very simple. The water which is, see, in case you have got a well, you can put it into the well. In case well is not there, the terrace water, leave it into simple harvesting pits. In case you do not have space, even for that well, like the building which I saw in the morning today, it is on pillars. Within the pillars, in the parking area itself, they have had a sump with a slab. Below that, there is a soak pit which takes the rainwater inside. So it is very easy to do it. Rainwater harvesting does not require place. You can put the rainwater harvesting below a slab. Below that, you can have the harvesting pit consisting of gravel, a small gap for the water to flow inside. There is no way any accident can take place because you have covered it with gravel. So the rainwater harvesting does not require place. It requires only a small will to do it.
Shall we wind up with the next two questions?
Why not?
Sure.
Why not?
Okay. What can a common man with four-member family do to live only on rainwater?
Yeah, see, I think it's a wonderful question. Now let me take the example. How much area? Let us say he has got about ground. Ground means how much? 2,400 square feet, about 240 meters squared. No, in Kerala you will be getting about 1,000 cubic meter of water. 1,000 cubic meter of water will be falling on the plot. Am I right? About 2.5 meters. So with which he can easily leave. So he can harvest it into the ground, use it. He can use it from the sump also. He can harvest it. In fact, the best method will be to have a well, because to store the water, the well is the best method, because the groundwater will get recharged from the well. He can keep on taking the water. So only on rainwater he can live very easily.
And what about the next question is about possibility of rainwater harvesting in flood-prone areas.
I think that's a very wonderful question. Wonderful question. See, he is asking a question in flood-prone area. Like for example, in the case of Trivandrum itself, why the flood has come in such areas? Because we have closed all avenues for water to go inside. Like the Patrakulam at the side of Padmatirtham was closed. So we have created, the rain has not created the flood. The human beings have created the floods. So by allowing water to go into the ground in a distributed manner at all the places, like all the shopkeepers harvest the rain into the ground, all of us harvest the rain into the ground, the flood becomes lesser and lesser. Because even in flood-prone area, if he measures the water table, definitely there will be place. Definitely the water table will be lower than the ground level by certain feet, even in flood-prone areas. Even in our own colony, where I get water at 2 feet, the park, up to 8 to 9 feet, there's no water in summer. That means that much space is available for me to percolate the water. So, flood area is created by human beings. Let us allow water to go more and more into the ground and reduce the flood. By harvesting, in all probability, we are reducing the floods than increasing it. If you do not harvest, you're throwing the water outside into the road and getting into flood.
And one more question is regarding evaporation in open tanks used for rainwater harvesting.
I think it is the last question, okay? Yeah.
That's it,
The last.
I think, you see, it all depends, in the open tank, how much water he is keeping it. If you see in large lakes and other places, over a year, these statistics say about 5% goes in the evaporation. But if the water level is very low, then what happens? The evaporation will take place. In an open tank, if water level is large enough, then the evaporation will be less. It all depends on how much water they are storing and what is the type of the tank they are made with. So evaporation loss, basically in an open tank, why open tank is kept? Because it is a large tank. We are unable to, cover it. It is very costly. So by the side of the open tank, in case greenery is developed, the evaporation losses will come down.
Okay.
So I think we'll end with that one. And there is one question for IPA, which I think should be answered. This is from George Abraham. Can the Plumbing Association shortlist certified agencies for each district in Kerala to undertake rainwater harvesting jobs? Currently, a lot of unprofessional agencies are exploiting without the required skills and resources. This is a huge gap found in Kerala. Thank you. See, on that, we will assure you that we will definitely look into the matter and see what can be done to cover this gap, because this is what we are looking at now. I think that will be the end of questions, and Chairman Seatat, please take over.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ram Kumar, for a wonderful
I have to answer the question or no? I have to answer the question of Mr. Rennie, no?
No.
He himself has answered. He himself has answered.
My only point is, we should take over providing awareness and acting as a nodal agency to sue in the simplest of the method. And rainwater harvesting will succeed only if the person who wants to do agrees with. Whatever we do, nothing happens. Because the law cannot take over much. We should make him aware and make him do it. And in case you need me to, educate people through a webinar or something, I am always available. My support is with your association to take this issue on the mission water.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ram Kumar, for a wonderful presentation, for answering so many questions. And I think we'll all give him a big hand. And now I'll request Anil Ji, Secretary CTAT, to propose a vote of thanks.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Thank you very much, Engineer Ram Kumar, for your lively and effective presentation on meeting water challenges. We could really feel the pulse of the meeting from the participants and the passion in Sri Ram Kumar's eyes when he answers the questions. As the saying goes, nation will fight for water soon, but neighbors will fight for water very soon, or they have already started. On behalf of College of Engineering Trivandrum Alumni Association, Trivandrum Chapter, CTAT, the Indian Plumbing Association and Indian Plumbing Association Trivandrum Chapter, and all members and participants of CTAT, IPA, CTA parent bodies, CTA chapters in India and abroad, and other guest participants, and my own behalf, I thank Engineer Ram Kumar for his wonderful presentation. Give him a big hand, please.
I think let me thank all of you.
Thank you.
Let me thank all of you for wonderful support on the mission water. And may God bless us.
Yes,
bless
thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Now I thank on behalf of all of you, Sri Bhima Rao, National Executive Secretary, IPA, New Delhi, for hoisting this web platform or guiding this platform, along with Engineer Reni, the chair of IPA Trivandrum chapter, and his team for joining with CTAT for conducting this webinar, and also sponsoring the web platform for the conduct of the webinar. Thank you, Sri Bhima Rao and Engineer Reni and his team.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I thank Engineer Gopakumar, Chairman of CTAT, for introduction and guiding us for this webinar. In fact, he came back, as he said earlier, from UK just yesterday and undergoing a 28 days quarantine. Thank you for supporting us in a big way in these difficult times. Thank you, Engineer Gopakumar, our chair. Thank you. Now, I thank our live wire, our Vice Chairman, Engineer Nandakumar, for making this webinar arrangements along with Mr. Tarun. Thank you, Tarun. And bringing an Indian Plumbing Association for this joint meet with IPA, offering them their web platform for our webinar. Thank you, Engineer Nandakumar, for your support and guidance. And also I thank Engineer Tarun for co-hosting this webinar. Thank you, Tarun. Thank you, Nandakumar. Now I thank all the members of CTAT and IPA, CTAT, our parent body, chapters of CTAT from India and abroad, for attending this webinar. Of course, your all suggestions and other for improving our webinar. This is actually our first webinar by CTAT, and your suggestions are most welcome. And though these are difficult times, difficult days, we wish you all advance happy Onam greetings. Thank you all. Thank you and good night. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
You can leave, okay?